excuse the mess. The SonarFeed appears to be having a few difficulties. Please excuse the mess. The SonarFeed appears to be having a few difficulties. According to my sundial, it's exactly, let's see, carry the one, divide by blue and green. It's dark outside. Oh well, that's good enough for me. It's time to start the show. May the deity of your choice forgive you. Good evening, Sounders fans. You've found the only year-round Sounders podcast hosted by an infamous U.S. Open Cup pirate broadcaster, a fellow who claims to be of Mexican descent, and a man with not only a midget fetish, but also an unnaturally strong appeal in the coveted 8 to 18-year-old male demographic. That's right, this is the SonarFeed. The SonarFeed comes to you each and every Monday, except when it doesn't, live from the Berliner Pub in beautiful downtown Renton. The SonarFeed is recorded in front of a live and likely inebriated studio audience. The SonarFeed may not be suitable for all audiences, although tonight I suspect the boys will be on their best behavior as they are joined this week by a man fresh off the presses. And Lee is thousands of miles away. Now, on with the show.
Excellent, thank you. That was a great read. Thank you.
That was awesome.
We never know what he's gonna say, and he always
Neither do I.
Yeah. And he always makes it happy. So tonight, here we are, episode number 111 of SonarFeed. And again, every time we say the number now, it just freaks me out.
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
like,
over 100 shows.
Yeah, how do you keep going that long? We're joined tonight by Don Ruiz from the Tacoma News Tribune. Thank you. And our spirited audience over here as well. Some people online as well as the folks here at the Berliner Pub. So Don, thank you for joining us tonight.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's exciting because, you know, we had the Gas Man on a couple times now, and Gas was kind of a catalyst, for better or for worse, to tell us to get off our proverbial butts and actually invite people out to come enjoy it with us. And he said when we were drinking our Sparkle Donkey the other night, he said, Don will come down for sure if you tell him there's Sparkle Donkey down there. So, anyways, but thank you for joining us. Really means a lot.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And yeah, thank you to the Gas Man, not only for the recommendation, but for spreading the soccer word, on KJR. That's very good. And same to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, like I said before the show, we do a little bit of our own little world for a minute, and then we'll pop into you. We'll keep our segment short.
Yep.
Last week, we talked for what? I think 90 minutes, roughly, and I don't know that we talked about the game at all. Maybe for like a minute?
Maybe. Yeah.
So
it was just recapping a lot of the fun times we had all year long.
So Chico, what have you been doing the last week since? I'm sorry. I'm Sonar Riley,
That's right.
a.k.a. Sonar Erin Riley, a Sonar Riley on Twitter. Hugo Garcia.
Yep, a.k.a. at MeBeatUs Seattle on Twitter and most social media.
And it's also on the screen, even though I have YouTube flipped, or all of us flipped. It's perfect. I'm lead this week. Don Ruiz, TNT, is your Twitter handle. Mm-hmm. Extremely active there, and actually a great source of both knowledge and snark and sarcasm. In a good way, in a very positive way.
In a fun way, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, good. All right, so Hugo, what have you been up to?
Aside from repeating what the Seahawks did to the Eagles on my commute to work this morning, by accidentally
running into a bird.
Man, they always fly out at the last second, but they didn't this time. I felt horrible.
But now the question is, did you duck? Because we were driving to LA, and I was driving back.
Okay.
I'm sure I was back on the way from LA, and I was driving, and a bird did that, like one of these.
Oh, yeah,
so I did this. It doesn't matter, but I just like everyone like.
I did a side swipe because and then it jumped towards the side of the car. So I was like, but it's good, man. I had a family that was from Mexico.
Yeah.
My cousin was here.
That's right.
So I spent a couple days showing her all about Seattle.
Is she back home now?
Yep. She landed last night back in Mexico, and her friends. She has a couple friends from Mexico that actually live in Vancouver. And they came down, and one actually is he's Turkish, and he's a big Galatasaray, I think is their name of their club.
Okay.
Galatasaray.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan Vaughn, BM Vaughn, actually went to a match there in Turkey. Yeah.
And he's he was impressed. He's like, man, I've been following the Sounders here, and impressive, what you guys do support-wise. I was like, yes.
It
Love
is.
to have people that are over in Europe and, with big clubs there, check us out and know that, hey, we're legit. That's
Good.
cool. But yeah, pretty much that. I spent time with family.
Good.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah,
So?
me too. I took my son to Santa,
Oh, nice.
which was awesome, Friday night. So I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
checked out Friday afternoon, Friday evening after work was done. I
Right.
checked out of the world, and I spent daddy-son time. I actually met Eileen down at Figgy Pudding, which, if you've never been to Figgy Pudding, it's outstanding. It's downtown Seattle.
Yep.
It benefits the Pike Place seniors, and it's a big fundraiser where they have a caroling contest. I think there was 39 caroling groups that all came down. They shut down all of Westlake,
Yeah.
and they shut down all the roads, and they have them set up, and they sing carols. So it was great. We did Santa. We did just him and I. I had to buy him this stupid sword from China that cost me $10. That cost probably a nickel to make. And
Did it have lights?
broke. Yeah, I lighted it up and it broke already. Of course, $10 throwing down the tube. But it was a great night. It was the best $10 you ever spent, though.
Yeah,
You
he was
have a
such a
5-year-old son.
Yeah, he's really super like, yeah, lightsaber, let's go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, and then all weekend at home,
Yeah.
I hung a new chandelier for my wife. And
Whoa.
it has 64 crystal, they're not real crystals, but whatever, that have to be hung around it though.
Fancy.
I have one of those. I have one of those done. It's horrible. It's like keychains.
Yeah.
It's like a keychain, but there's 64 of those,
Oh.
and I'm on an 8-foot ladder on the top rung trying to finish that.
Man,
so
you really love your wife.
I do. I love her. So, anyways, okay.
What about you, Don?
Yeah.
How's the weekend, man? What you been up to?
Well, because
Oh.
the Sounders were eliminated, I sort of lost control of my work destiny a little bit. When the Sounders season is going on, I just cover the Sounders for the most part.
Okay.
And then when the Sounders got eliminated, suddenly my editor sees me as a source of other kinds of stories. So it wasn't a bad gig, as it turned out. They sent me to the Tacoma Dome for the 3A state championship.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
right.
and I mean that was the thing. I don't really follow the preps that much, but Bellevue, everybody kind of knows about
Yeah.
Bellevue,
Yep.
and 67-game winning streak was the longest in the nation, 6-time state champion. So when those streaks end,
Yeah.
suddenly you've got
It's all over.
something to write
Yeah, yeah,
about.
sure.
And
Eastside Catholic, right?
Eastside Catholic, exactly.
Didn't they write a movie, or didn't they make a movie on the Bellevue team or something
I
recently?
think it was on the team that they beat, right? 'Cause
Oh,
was
yeah,
it
by the
like
California
Dallas,
team.
That's
or
right.
somebody else who
So
had
we have
that
a Fody is in the audience, and he went to Bellevue,
Oh.
and so he's a big Bellevue. So he just said excellent coverage of the game, but crappy outcome. So he's not happy about the outcome, but he said great coverage. So that's good. Okay, so that was one of my questions we lead into there, is that like tonight, and you saw the notes, I really want to focus on you a little bit here. There's some questions that relate to the Sounders too, but
Sure.
like, what's the life of a newspaper man, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
today's age, we're in 2014. I wrote for my high school newspaper like 100 years ago, I feel like, but it's different now. Even like 93 when I graduated high school. It's different then than it is now. And you joined the Tacoma News Tribune in '88, is that right?
88.
Okay. And doing what when you started?
I was in news briefly,
Okay.
and then spent about a decade as the entertainment editor, which was a lot of fun. In its own right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple of very, very cush jobs because covering sports, of course, is a lot of fun. But covering entertainment for a decade was also a lot of fun. I got to interview George Carlin, who was one of my heroes.
Wow!
I got to interview Joan Baez, who also is quite the legend. I remember one day I was just sitting in the office, the phone rings, I pick it up, voice at the other end of the line, this is Dear Abby.
You're kidding.
No way!
She had gotten a letter from somebody from Tacoma, and she wanted to check on some of the social services that were in town before she gave her advice. So all of that was a lot of fun. And then, but all of that was also an office job.
Okay.
So I decided in '99 that I wanted to write rather than edit,
Okay.
and I asked for a sports job, and they gave me that. So I've been doing it since
99.
Since '99.
And you covered the '99 Women's World Cup.
That's right.
Was that your first? That was your first.
Amazing.
Wow.
That was my first week on the job.
Wow.
When they gave me the job, the idea had been sort of to cover Tacoma local sports. So at the time, that was like the minor league hockey team, the SaberCats,
Yep.
and the AAA baseball team, the Rainiers. So that's what I was prepared to do. My life taking me from the Tacoma Dome to Cheney Stadium and the office, and that I thought was going to be about it. And literally, I think my third day on the job, the sports editor comes up to me and says, we were just talking to the managing editor, and she thinks that we should staff the Women's World Cup final. Can you get down to Pasadena this weekend? And I just thought, I'm going to like this job a lot.
Yeah.
This is going to be pretty cool.
And I did, and then that was an amazing assignment. At the time, it was my first, so I had almost nothing to compare it to. But even now, with all this time to compare it to, that was a truly magical assignment. That team kind of broke through. They were more than just a soccer team. The nation really fell in love with them. And that was, Brandy Chastain's, kick and all of that. Mia Hamm, I'm just still awed not only at his skill, but some people just radiate star power. And I mean, standing in the locker room with her, she was just remarkable in every sense. Just an amazing face for U.S. soccer.
That's incredible. So that really is kind of like a, here you go, 3 days in, boom, go, have fun. Wow, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
That is amazing,
so,
dude. That's like...
I got to back up for just a minute, though. Because I love TMZ, right? I'm a TMZ guy. It's one of my little, secret little, it's not so secret. I talk about it all the time. But I love the whole idea of that celebrity nonsense, right? I hate it. Drives me absolutely bad. But I love.
You're addicted to it.
Entertainment Weekly was the first magazine I ever subscribed to when I was
really?
I just loved it. I loved it.
It's like
it's something stupid. I don't know why, but I love it.
I get it.
That is outstanding that you did. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I did not know that.
Cool.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun. And then once in sports, I kind of evolved a little bit as well. After the locals, I did. I've been good luck charm and absolute not good luck charm with some of my teams.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, I spent that's right with the because the first actual for 2 years I was the Cougars writer, Cougar football, and that was like the best years of their history. I covered 2 back-to-back 10-win seasons, which are very rare.
That was a Leaf
in Pullman.
Now what happened?
It was with Kessler.
Oh, okay.
And so I got their Rose Bowl loss.
Okay. So who did they lose to again? Was it Michigan? It was Michigan. Yeah, that's right. I'm a Michigan boy. Sorry, Mark.
And then the next year they won in the Holiday Bowl. It was back-to-back 10-win seasons.
Yeah, okay. No, wait a minute. No, Leaf was the Michigan.
Leaf
was the Michigan Rose Bowl. No, I'm sorry.
Which is really pathetic. Who did they play that year?
What year was the Michigan Rose Bowl? Now I can't remember. 04?
You can look it up.
03? No, it was earlier.
I bet you Mark will look it up.
No, that was earlier.
Texas in the Holiday Bowl, and whoever their opponent was in the Rose Bowl has just left me, unfortunately.
I'm trying to remember.
Oklahoma.
Yep. I think
that's right, because it was a non-traditional matchup.
Yeah, sorry.
Game.
That's right.
Yeah. And then all the good luck went away because I joined. I covered the
I'm
Huskies.
older, so I remember Michigan was in the 90s when they beat Wazoo. Sorry, okay.
I covered Huskies for probably the worst 6 years of their history. It was the last year of Keith Gilbertson and the entire Tyrone Willingham regime.
Man. That must be tough.
It was.
Yes. I mean,
it was tough.
If you cover any sports around 2008, that was a rough year for all of us.
Yeah, it really was. Although the takeaway, which I think was useful for life, for sports writing, for everything, was really after covering those 2 amazing years with the Cougars, and then going, to the horrible, maybe 1-win Gilbertson year that got him fired, and then the whole Tyrone years, including an 0-12 season.
I remember.
What surprised me is how little difference there was in covering those different fortunes, which surprised me. And I think what my takeaway from it is that athletes, while you certainly get better quotes in the locker room after a win, by the time you come back and you're in their presence again on Monday, they're forward-looking. That just happened. So they're not thinking about the game they just lost. They're thinking about the game they're about to win. And it's startling how little difference there was in the pulse of those two teams. And I've noticed that. I haven't had obviously a losing record or anything to cover with with the Sounders.
Yep.
But it's just
Sorry, I have
very
to knock on wood.
Yeah.
But it's
Sorry,
it's a good takeaway, I think, for athletes. They really are just.
That apply to
You
the Sounders
can't
as well.
beat
do you
them
think?
down much. Yeah,
Do you think
they're
that's
always looking for the
those
next
just
win.
Nope.
Like look at the end of last year. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we have a million topics to cover. Since we're on this topic, the end of last year, it was like burn the city down.
Yeah.
Right? Not really, but I mean,
Ziggy out.
we traveled to Portland. I mean, it was terrible.
it was
like,
hard
I mean, I
French.
tweeted Siggy out in the 9th minute, the 10th minute
Yeah.
of the game. I'm not. I mean.
He literally did.
I did. No, I
Literally
did.
Yeah.
And I got some comments back like, whoa. And I'm like, you didn't start Shalry Joseph on the forward.
Well, he has come around to agree with you on that.
I know he has. Yeah, I know. But I also, when they announced that he was going to stay, I'm like, I fully support it. Well, I mean, at first I was kind of like, whatever. But I mean, I fully supported it. That it was the right call. And look where we are now.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm like, was that harder in the locker room like last year? Maybe compared to like this year seemed like we had this like amazing cohesive unit.
Yeah.
Last year kind of felt more like
Everybody was
this.
clashing.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, certainly the losing locker rooms are harder.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, not only. First off, there are fewer subjects to pick from because
Fair enough.
there's just a lot of people still hang out either in the getting medical treatment or they wait you out in the shower or the drill is we go to a press conference with Ziggy and then the locker room opens.
Okay.
So a lot of them can beat you out if they want, so sometimes they're just not around. So you have fewer to pick from. And then of course the ones that you do pick from, you have to be a little more precise in your wording of the questions.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Tactful.
Right. I'm going to stick with the word precise almost more than tactful because it's a weird line to walk. I mean, they have done their job, now I'm doing mine. So I have to do it, and sometimes it's harder to be tactful. I mean, I remember in the locker room in Aloha Stadium after the Huskies went 0-12, there was an inevitable question, and nobody had quite asked it, and I was worried Tyrone was going to end the press conference, so I said, do you expect to be the coach of the Huskies next year? I was met with a death stare and silence. He hasn't answered it yet. I mean, he just looked at me and took the next question. So, but in a way, journalistically, that's better than saying, yes, I expect to be back. I mean, you can build a story on that.
Wow.
So in any case, you try and realize the situation,
Wow.
but still, my loyalty, as much as I try to be as fair as I can to the athletes and to the coaches, my loyalty is to the readers. So I have to act in their best interest, which sometimes means asking a difficult question.
Wow.
You need a drink or no?
What's that?
You want another drink or you good?
Sure. Yeah. No, just thanks.
Okay.
I'm okay, thanks.
Sorry to interrupt. That's our part of no play. But that is fantastic.
That is, man.
Okay, that's
That
one
is
of the
like,
things
wow.
I think that. So you have shown. You have been like a shining star this year, right? At least in my mind, because you've had some amazing Twitter competition over the last few years, right?
Yes.
Between Jose the first year at Seattle Times, Joshua Mayers who's fantastic, Matt Pence is fantastic, Sounder at Heart, etc. Right? There's a lot of great local coverage of the Sounders, but you have like always been that like
Consistent. You're there, man.
Yes. But over this last year, you've kind of taken over what I'll call the mayor.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
A little bit. This year, you have become that mayor.
Yeah, the go-to guy.
And I don't mean that in a negative way.
Okay.
That's actually a compliment.
Yeah.
It is a compliment. I promise you this. I love Joshua Mayer to this day. I love Joshua Mayer. So when I say that, it comes from the bottom of my heart. Good job.
Well, I love Josh too, and although when you say the mayor, it was weird to me and remains weird to me that when some people would say that the mayor, they wouldn't. What they would mean is a negative guy, and I never read Josh that way. But he got sideways with some Sounders and maybe some fans as well, and I never quite saw it.
I didn't either.
I didn't see him as a negative guy.
I was a mayor's in from day one, and there was a lot of of negativity, I 100% agree. Like, oh, there goes Mayers again, or whatever. But I like it. I personally, I guess maybe because that's how I am, I don't really have a filter always, and I prefer to just be honest and talk about things. Because if we talk about it, we can actually make some change, or we can have dialogue.
Have a discussion,
have a discussion, exactly. So I, for one, love it. But I think this year you've become the man, and I think I tagged him in that tweet to you, which he then responded like a week later going, really? Like, isn't there a statute of limitations on that? So, anyways, but I love it. I think you were fantastic. So hearing you say that you asked that question of Willingham,
wow,
that's a pretty. Now, did you ask like Siggy, or did anyone ask Siggy that? Would you have asked Siggy that question the end of last year?
He was asked that question, and he was asked it again this year, this week, in fact.
Really?
On their end of year press conference, he was asked.
That's right.
Well, no, it couldn't be the end of year press conference. It must have been post game.
Right.
But this year there was far less suspense.
Yeah.
Because Adrian had already. In fact, on the day that they re-signed the extension with Obafemi Martins, I had asked Adrian, now that you've got this done, is Ziggy or who else is next on your to-do list to extend? And he made it clear at that point that he did want to re-sign Ziggy. Yeah. And then I forget, it wasn't me, but it was Sounders at Heart or one of the other websites, then asked Ziggy, maybe it was Sounders at Heart, if he wanted to stick around. And so at that point, we had the marriage, we had the club saying they wanted him and Ziggy saying he wanted to stay. And then when they had the Alliance Council meeting, we got about 30 minutes with Joe Roth.
Right, because I was in the Alliance Council meeting, right.
And he had also, committed to, that he was very glad that, he said how close he came to firing Ziggy, how glad he was that he didn't. And I asked him, of course, the rap on Ziggy isn't that he doesn't win in the regular season. It's that he hasn't gotten y'all to MLS Cup yet. Right. This is pre-MLS Cup. Are you still going to feel this way if they go out? And he said, that he's very much a realist. He understands there's 19 teams, only one wins every year. He was, committed to Ziggy. And then, of course, when the news broke this week, that was no huge surprise.
Would you say last year that you were shocked that we kept Ziggy?
I was more shocked that there was a controversy.
Really?
I thought... and still think. The way Joe Roth said it, he's one of the two best coaches in MLS, and I think that...
Don't say the other guy's name, though.
...is almost... Oh, God, Joe Roth did not.
Yeah, I know. Champagne drinking jerk. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And, I think so. I realize sports is fun, and sports is a release, and you can yell, kill the umpire without truly wanting him to die. And there's all of these kinds of things,
Was I mic'd up last game?
where fans are allowed some license. But what I've always thought is, if the Ziggy out debate was limited to people as successful in their jobs as Ziggy has been in his, it's going to be a very quiet, small crowd.
Which I qualify.
And that's the thing.
No.
You can make a serious consideration about who's the best coach for the team and all of that. But when it comes with Ziggy's an idiot, Ziggy's any of that kind of stuff, it's just too disrespect. It's not. It passes disrespect all the way to ignorance. His resume is Hall of Fame quality.
Agreed. And so as someone who was a Ziggy out commentary last year and 10 minutes in the Portland game last year in the playoffs, but that's also because I had just driven down on a bus with 45 people. But this year, having the Ziggy out discussion, I think is great from the fact that we're a free country. Mm-hmm. But I also think this is where we need to go to Bellevue, not Bellevue, Washington, Bellevue Hospital for some of those folks, because there is no reason this year to think of it. We have 2 trophies. Right. We won 2 of the 3 domestic trophies this year, right? How in the world do you say go away to a guy who got a competition that is 100 years old, and we won it.
Yep. For the fourth time.
This 5 years. Yeah. Or 6 years, sorry. And then we've got the Supporter Shield, which LA is now discounting. Some of our LA frenemies are discounting.
And that's during the World Cup year, too. I think you have to look at that as being an extra challenge of being able to take down the Supporter Shield. when you have World Cup in the middle of the season, players are gone. I mean, my hat's off. So
Siggy out was not a joke last year, John.
And I think it was more an intensity.
Yeah.
It was an intensity because of the rivalry. We didn't slack or hate Portland so much that having that happen just intensified that. And then before I forget, quick shout out to Coach Schmetzer.
Yeah, Coach Schmetzer.
Yeah, he loves the background info on reporting on the business, and thanks for the great articles. He said, Schmetzer. Yeah, thanks,
so Coach Schmetzer actually watches us.
Well, that's
for
great.
some silly reason. We still don't know why.
Checks in the mail, Coach.
Yeah.
He needs to come down and tell us.
Well, yes, we do need to come down. We have 3 people on the show usually, right? It's Hugo and myself, and then Lee, who's in Manila. Working. He's actually surviving the hurricane, so he's good there. But when Lee comes back, we need to get Coach Schmetzer on the show.
Yeah.
Because Coach is he is something special. I mean, it's. Well, I don't need to tell you that. You see him all the time.
Yeah.
Schmetzer, I'm losing words. Sorry,
I know.
I'm tripping over my own words here. I may not be good on that show.
But we are
because
though,
I will be. Because he's so amazing. I think he does amazing work. That it's fun to have someone like him actually watch the show and enjoy the show. So anyway, he said good articles to you. So.
Well, good. Thank you. Then I'll return the compliment. I'm amazed that he hasn't gotten a head job yet. He's a proven coach at lower levels. He's trained under one of the best for many years here. He's familiar with an expansion team, birthing a team into reality.
Yeah.
I'm startled at what nobody, or at least he hasn't
he
accepted
interviewed with Dallas a couple years ago, and I'll
Please
admit,
don't.
was at home. I had a voodoo doll, maybe. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
Coach.
of course we want the best for you, Coach, but we're also selfish. We're hella greedy,
Anywhere, I would be 100% comfortable with him going anywhere, and I would honestly that would probably become one of my second favorite teams in the MLS. Because
Even Portland?
Even Portland, it would because. Well, no, because Merritt Paulson.
Never.
Okay, well, maybe that may be. I'm not a fan of Merritt Paulson. I could actually handle Portland if Merritt Paulson wasn't there. That's a whole other show. Yeah. We'll do a Twitter after dark, kind of. But anyways, I think he should be a head coach, and
no question.
it's just a matter of when and when it's right, and maybe it's here in a couple of years when Siggy is done. I don't know what would happen. So, yeah.
Merritt actually is he fills an odd and little dark corner in my world as well. In that I think he is I don't think I've ever been turned down for interviews by the same guy more often than him. And I've literally never interviewed Merritt Paulson. I've tried to interview them back from the USL days, and he always has something better to do.
I'm going to cheers that because that's good.
Yep.
Because that guy is not a nice guy, in my opinion.
He's also not a publicity shy guy, and yet he has not appeared in the News Tribune.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I won't. I'll
He's
move on.
not a positive publicity shy guy.
Yeah. Good point. Very, very good.
Well
point.
said.
I like
well
that.
Played,
I like
well
that.
played.
Okay, so we actually have a couple questions too. We're like. And I'm sorry, this show could go on for 7 hours now because you're fantastic on this. So, Kyle Shields, who's a very good friend of ours, it was his birthday yesterday, so I'm picking him first for the question. He asked, Don, how much is Erin paying you for this? And the follow-up is, it's not enough. All right, there we go. So we'll be quiet. Yeah, okay.
That was well played.
Exactly.
No, round shots.
All right, so let's go back into some of the other thoughts here. So, other than the Sounders, your favorite activity, sport, etc. to cover, or because you said in the off season, which is only 6 weeks this year, right, or 80 days or whatever. Not even 80 days. It's was it 68 days?
It's startling. It's next
small.
month.
I can't do math. But the question is, where in this off season, you're going to cover the preps. Are you covering the Hawks at all, or
I'll
what
cover
else
the Hawks and Niners this weekend.
Okay.
Nice.
Then, because the off-season is so short, I'm going to squeeze in a week of vacation, and it won't be able to be complete vacation because the following week, the week that I'll be gone, is the week of the Phase 2 draft, and that's actually the one that paid off very well for the Sounders last season.
Yep.
And, so I'll keep an eye on things, but that will be theoretical vacation.
Yep.
And then it's Christmas week where it goes dark, but that's about the time they'll be putting out the schedule.
Yep.
And then really you've got Super Draft, and off you go again. So it's extremely short. So I'll probably help a little bit with the and the other weird things that the MLS offseason happens at a time when there's relatively few other things to cover. I'll probably pick up a little Husky basketball because they've made a bowl again.
Yeah.
So while our Husky beat writer will be away with the team in Tucson, which is a nice gig, or maybe Tempe, I forget where it is, but the Cactus Bowl in any case. While he's away, I'll probably pick up as the number 2 Huskies guy. And that actually is a good gig. It's a lot of fun. I loved it when I was their beat guy. And also, as much as a real pro, as much as a wonderful guy Ziggy is to cover.
Yep.
I mean, forget coaching, just as a guy that's part of my daily work experience.
Yep.
He's great. And I would say right there next to him is Lorenzo Romar, who is just a civic.
Yeah, he seems like a total class
He's
act.
as good a guy as I've ever met, and a great guy to cover.
That's incredible.
And
awesome.
So I'll be happy to do that. And then the rest, I would just say while if I had to say maybe a single event that I most enjoyed covering, it might be the one that we've already talked about, the Women's Final World Cup. But certainly in long form, what the News Tribune had me do last season, which was probably the best, most enjoyable month of my working life, was they had me cover the Seahawks playoffs' next opponent. So that meant they sent me to New Orleans for a week to cover the Saints, then to Carolina to cover, the Carolina 49ers game. When if Carolina would have won, I'd have stayed there.
Wow.
The 49ers won, so I went to San Francisco for a week covering the 49ers, then over to Denver for the AFC Championship game, and then a week in Manhattan for the Super Bowl. So that was a real
That's
gift.
incredible.
I mean,
that is huge.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
incredible.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That is cool. So, okay, that's
a lot. That's like
so
a
you're
bucket
hoping
list.
for the same thing next month.
Oh, that'd be great. And the other nice thing is that, one of the reasons that it's kind of this fill-in work, the GA work I like less, is because I really like being the beat guy, because you want to feel that you know the team more than most, at least, of your readers.
Right.
And when you drop in, just parachute in, cover a team once, and go out, it's very hard. But again, that gig kind of let me settle in for a week. And actually the most surprising thing was, we knew when they sent me to San Francisco that probably the last story that I would write before leaving would just kind of be this week's look at Jim Harbaugh, which I thought was just going to be, talk about snark, that I would have the opportunity to kind of be a little snarky with Harbaugh. But I actually ended up liking him.
What? Really?
Well, I wouldn't say liking him. The lead was...
He's a Michigan boy. He's not a bad boy. Sorry, go ahead.
No way.
The lead was most Seahawks fans wouldn't have any problem using a one-word description to describe Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
But if that word isn't complex, they're probably wrong. And that's the thing. You could see all of the kind of jerky qualities that show up a lot with him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he was,
That's what happens when you're from Michigan.
he was also very funny on occasion. And when he gave a bad answer, like the one-word answers, at some point it becomes incumbent upon the reporter not to ask something that can be answered in one word. And if you haven't learned that about Jim Harbaugh yet, then that's the answer you get. So in any case, I liked kind of being able to see the cliches become a little more three-dimensional.
That's awesome.
That is awesome, man.
Cool.
This is pretty sweet. Like,
it is.
Getting that kind of feedback and background on all that stuff.
But that's where you have a hack like myself who did high school to someone who actually does it and does it well, and what goes into it. I think, and this is what I talked about as we looked at who we wanted to invite kind of to end the year. So tonight we have you. Next week we have Coach Hinton.
That's a great one.
Which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, totally.
He's been on the show once before. That was a few months, or actually a year and a half ago, or a year ago. So it'll be different for that. But I love the fact that we're opening, kind of exposing all the behind the scenes stuff here. Because to me, we take for granted, I think,
Totally.
what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are spoiled. And then on Twitter, we all go like, well, if you follow everybody, you're going to have all the same tweets for the next whenever there's a big announcement. But I look at that as I have your point of view, I have Matt's point of view, I have Jeremiah's point of view, I have Dave's point of view, I have whatever. There's all these different people. And I like it. Because everybody reads it differently.
Totally.
We have the professional journalism as your career versus the blogger, and I'm not saying one's better or the other.
Right.
But do you guys have a good relationship between like Sounder Heart, for instance, and Sale Times and the Tacoma News Tribune, who are here for tonight?
Yeah, we do. It was really one of my most pleasant surprises when I moved into sports was how collegial a lot of the various reporters were, and particularly so among beat guys.
Yeah.
And the simple practical reality is, I see Matt Pence. He's far more my day-to-day colleague than anyone who has the News Tribune on their business card. I see my editor maybe twice a month, in physical proximity. And, the other writers, Bob Dutton covered the entire last Mariner season. I've met him once.
Okay.
I mean, those people I don't see because we're all in our respective press boxes and practices or traveling. But the guy I see every day, is Matt, and for a long time Jeremiah, and then the Sounders players and coaches. So they're
like your coworkers.
They are much more my coworkers.
Yeah,
they're as much competitors as coworkers. And so I was very. I had a fine relationship with Jose. And then Josh, I just think is a great guy.
As a human being. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as a journalist, he was the whole thing, and he likes. We had a few things in our personal lives that we like discussing. So I mean, it was just office, water cooler kind of chit chat that I could do with him. So I was really invested in a variety of ways, competitively and just personally, in who the Times was going to hire, and Matt is a very good guy as well. So we've been lucky with that. Also, the guys like Ziggy coaches can make your life miserable or much more pleasant. And he is terrific. He's really one of the best. Seattle's been very lucky, or Washington State has, because Mike Price was tremendous. Lou Piniella, off the charts. Lorenzo, like I say, just great, and Ziggy is absolutely there.
How's Pete Carroll?
I have dealt with him so little that I can't say.
Okay.
What was that?
Pete Carroll.
You can't say?
Oh, he hasn't dealt with it that much.
I've covered the Seahawks almost less than anything.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
And when I have covered the NFL, it's generally been the opposing clubhouse.
Fair enough. Yep.
So locker room. So I don't know him in a particular way. Ziggy has become, I think, Ziggy's actually very open. Less so maybe on injuries. That's the one thing where he has become sort of the wall, between fans and information. But reporters, I'm not sure that fans. I don't think they necessarily all think that we're on the right side of the wall. I think a lot of them prefer the silence. Rather Bruce Arena not know who's in the lineup than wanting to know who's actually in the lineup.
Well, I find it interesting because my wife is a benefits manager, and so HIPAA laws come into play here, right? And so there's this interesting line here, right? Of like you have this, you have an expectation of privacy, an expectation of not being able. So last year I got necrotizing fasciitis, which is flesh-eating bacteria. Necrotizing fasciitis, which is a flesh-eating bacteria, and I literally almost died. And that is for you, Lee. But as a company, my company could not tell the rest of my employees, or the rest of the employees, my coworkers, about it. But I am who I am. I was sharing it on Twitter and Facebook, and when they found that out, they were able to expand their ability to talk about it, because I made it public by putting it on a public forum. And it's an interesting thing that technically there's all these HIPAA rules and regulations that have come out in the last decade that changed that. So when I was a kid growing up, you knew everything, right? In theory, you knew basically everything. So now it's different. So anyway, it's fascinating to me because I think in general as a fan, I don't want Bruce Arena to know who's playing.
Of course not.
I want Ozzy to be the guy who's not going to play, or you think he's not going to play, even though we all know Ozzy's going to play. He could be in a cast, and he's still going to live after the ball
that guy,
and be fine. Well, in theory, right? So, yeah, that's... All right, so I got a question for you here. We're going to change topic for a moment.
Okay.
Oh, shoot, hold on. It says we're online. Okay, hold on. Shoot. All right, guys, so we're still recording, so that's good, but we're not online in theory, so hold on. And that may be a Ustream issue because everything I'm seeing says we're online.
Yep.
So
Just like that San Jose Open Cup game.
it pretty much is. That's our claim to fame, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. So,
Y'all are how I covered that game.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it was your feed.
No.
Oh, yes.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
'cause
Don't
that-
talk about this.
is
Wait, time out.
awesome.
Time out.
Other
We're
feed.
gonna come- Wait, we're back online. All right. Okay, hold on. Now we can go back to that because screw my other question. So, Don, how did you cover the San Jose match?
That Open Cup game, I didn't go to the San Jose Open Cup game at Kezar
At
Stadium.
Kezar Stadium, yeah.
And I was trying to follow along on the Quakes feed, which was
The red question mark.
truly,
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is
memorably,
how we start the show.
comically horrible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think finally somebody tweeted to me or something that there was this other feed going, and I believe I spent more time over there.
You made my night, by the way. So
That was awesome, bro. That was
So
awesome.
you really watched that, our horrible feed, which is funny because I was just holding up the phone for fun, and I was showing ECS, and we were singing our songs, and then I got the word like, don't show ECS, show the game, because nobody can see it. So that is funny.
That is
Well,
awesome.
so much of life is relative, and that was the best available feed. And
Which
so
is
it
really,
was
which
great.
was really poor. The
What phone
commentary
it?
was funny.
What phone were we using?
An iPhone 4 is what I was using. Yeah, an iPhone 4. Yeah. Hey, I still have that phone. Yeah, I was gonna sell
It's
it.
been bronzed.
Not yet. I was gonna sell it, and then I'm like, I could get $100 for it or whatever it was, and I'm like, no, that phone
gotta save
is
it
gonna
for the
stay
Sounders
forever.
Hall of Fame.
Forever. I will never let go of that. Well, maybe for the Sounders Hall of Fame. If the Sounders really want it, maybe I'd give it up. Maybe, but yeah, I'm never.
Dude,
giving
that's
it up.
awesome.
That is awesome. It's actually really cool. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
is, dude. I can tell,
I'm
dude.
like,
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some questions here from the folks again, and this I put it in the notes. And if you don't want to answer it because he's a fellow journalistic, well, let me rephrase that. He's a guy who I think writes for a newspaper, maybe, or does some things. I wouldn't call him a journalist because that would be tarnishing the name and reputation of journalists in my words, not yours. There's a guy out of Boston area called Dan. I'm going to call him Shahaganissi. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but so Dan Shaughnessy, right? Who tweeted out a couple commentaries, and I've had like 6 people ask for this. Julie, who's the new Fody, I've had a lot of people ask. He said the silver lining of the Revs' loss is that now we don't have to pretend that they are relevant. Nice try by the Revs, but we are a 4-team town. So. He's been a guy who's poked at the Revs and done all these commentary. Do you want to answer or talk about this at all, or look at it, or do you have any commentary on it?
Yeah, I mean, a few things. I mean, for one, forgetting the obnoxiousness of the remark, let's just deal with the wrongness of the remark. I mean, he's probably correct that ultimately Boston, most fans in the area are going to call it a 4-sports town.
Absolutely.
But I just don't think that a Revolution MLS Cup would necessarily change that. And what I would point to is the Seattle Storm, bless them, have a WNBA title in their history. It didn't truly make them relevant in the marketplace, except to their niche of the marketplace, to whom they were relevant win or lose. So I just think, it's just a wrong-headed remark in a dozen ways. also, the annoyance is, as you were mentioning earlier, newspapers since the 90s were having tough times. And when the best minds in the business try to, serve our readers the best ways possible, and still we're losing readers. And when I see so many good journalists who have lost their jobs despite doing their job so well, it becomes annoying to see a dinosaur like this who doesn't understand that what was a funny soccer joke, or frankly probably a grating but more correct soccer joke in the 60s, again, it's like a high school kid saying Shakespeare is boring. No, that doesn't reflect on Shakespeare, it reflects on you.
No, it reflects on the parents, but yes, and you.
But right, and so exactly
and
at
I'll
this point, if you say you don't like soccer, fine. If you say soccer is boring, no. I've got a world over here that will tell you you're in the minority.
God. So I'm going to say this, and don't take it the wrong way, but I love you, Don. Because that is, so I've got 2 kids, and my daughter has been to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in Ashland for 6 years running. She's 11. Okay? 5 years running. 5 years running. My son is now 5. Just got his seat because my in-laws go every year. They both have their seat with their plaque on it. And they didn't watch the show, so I can say this. But we're taking my daughter for the 4th time to the Nutcracker, which is the last version of the Pacific Northwest Ballet. Sendek, I'm like, Maurice Sendek version is the best, in my opinion. It's so amazing. My son's going for the first time. Actually, his second time, because he was born an hour and a half after we went the last time.
I remember you said
He went to labor, while we were watching it. So to hear you say that, that's a great commentary. That Shakespeare is not, it can be boring if you're not exposed to it, if you don't have that education, your parents educating you on that, in my opinion. And school or friends, whatever. Totally. But, that is a great, that was
totally. That was like
nailed it.
Shakespearean soccer talk.
Nailed it, in my opinion. So thank you. So that, I could go on for a while.
Dude, that was awesome, man. It's a great way to.
Yeah. But then we look at so then this dovetails back into it. As someone who writes for print media still, and you have the blog on the Tacoma News Tribune website. Do you find it odd or funny to look at Sounder at Heart and what they do versus what you guys do, or how do you look at that whole relationship?
No, I'm amazed and jealous to a degree of Sounders at Heart, because my blog used to have a little community. We had good discussions there, and now I still think some people, I know from the numbers that some people still value it as a source of information, but the chat has gone away. I just don't get commenters anymore.
Okay.
And I would love, I'd like my blog to be, the Berliner. I would like people to go there to talk soccer.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen so much anymore. So I envy them that. Ultimately, what a writer wants more than anything is readers. And so you don't want this, your blog to be Dear Diary. You want it to be things that other people are coming to and value.
Relate to, understand.
So to see the numbers there, that if something big happens, in Sounder soccer, that they're going there to discuss it right now, I just envy them. But the wonderful thing, of course, is that there's no, there's no locked door between all of these various pieces of information. Right. You can be a News Tribune subscriber and still love Sounders at Heart and still want to see what the Times has to say about this and still tune in on webcasts and all of these things. The last thing on earth that soccer has to worry about right now is too many outlets feeding the beast right now. So the more the merrier, I think.
No, I think that's a good opinion.
I completely agree, and it makes sense. I think it's great for the sport and it's great for the community to have that option, to be able to go to your blog and also go to Sounder Heart or check out SonarFeed. If you're Monday night checking it out. So
right. Well, which leads into another conversation on the questions I had for you earlier. As you look at Seattle versus maybe the rest of the MLS, right? So have you had a chance to dialogue with other beat reporters or other folks that cover the sports in other cities of the MLS, specifically MLS? And how does it differ, maybe, or are we as quote unquote special as we think we are, or so if you could talk about that a little bit.
Media-wise, you are.
Okay.
I do think a hole in my game. I think something that I should do better, frankly, for my readers is touch base with, visiting reporters more and so forth, because that's really, nobody should know the team like that beat guy. So I should touch base with them more. But for the for people who grew up in Seattle and see, that you can get it from these very
outlets,
all these various outlets, exactly. What they should understand is that just as that this is an anomaly, that it's unique. In fact, it's one of a kind. Nobody has this many competing media attending games, and certainly not attending practices. And I think the Sounders are one of the few teams. I mean, to their credit, the players themselves tend to understand that we are in a position where we can help them. Whereas the Mariners can have a little bit of a surly locker room sometimes, and you can almost understand it because really these are millionaires. Their sport is established, for 140 years or whatever it is. They are doing us a favor when they speak to us, because those quotes are benefiting the News Tribune more than it's,
Right.
But the Sounders tend to understand, I think, that the media can help them, that this is a sport that has failed a dozen times in this country, and that speaking to us is not only a favor to us, it's in the club's best interest. And being human, every now and then they get the same question once too often, and they get maybe a little tired of it, and I don't begrudge them that a bit. But man, I think if you get traded away to to some other town where no media cares what you have to say, I think they would view Seattle as the good old days pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, so we have a lot of what we call #frenemies, right? And I've got to just do it real quick. There's a guy named Rick at Utard who created this outstanding banner for us that we displayed at RSL. He made it, and it was the quest for the MLS Cup. So he made it before the playoff, or as the playoffs started. And once we got down to the final teams, he made this amazing banner. And I'll show you here a picture. I'll show you first. Okay, this is great radio right now, by the way. Yeah, you guys are seeing this.
Amazing
and
radio.
I'm going to show it right here. And Rick, a.k.a. Utard, made this amazing thing. So he sent it he displayed it at Rio Tinto, which has the best Bose speakers possible.
Oh, they're amazing.
And then he sent it to me, and I showed it at the Clank, which is where this picture came from. And then I sent it down to somebody in L.A.
Who was in L.A.?
Shoot.
It wasn't George, was it?
No. Crap. Darn it, you had to ask that question. Damn it. I forgot her. Julie? Is it Julie? I think it's Julie. It is Julie. So I was hoping, because it lost at Rio Tinto, and it lost to Seattle. I was hoping it would lose in L.A., but it didn't. But what we do is we have all of our friends now that we have around the country, and these are people who are like diehard LA fans, diehard RSL fans, diehard every team,
Sporting,
all of them. And it's fun because now we have a relationship with them. So we as a show have had on the Chivas fans, all three of them. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Chivas. Sorry, that was a low blow. Sorry, but we've had on other fans. And I was on the Vancouver podcast, Mark Daly. Amazing that we can have this relationship and this community built up. So I would love to see more of that personally. Totally. If you had that, that would be a fantastic addition to your blog and your articles. So
I agree.
I think I should.
Yeah.
And just one more thing to that last question. The reason that Seattle media covers the Sounders more seriously than other media around the league is because there are more Sounders fans. I mean, when I was hired, when they asked me if I would pick up the Sounders beat back in 2009, the assumption was I would probably cover the home games, maybe do a feature in the middle of the week, cover the game, and that would kind of be it. And it was the fans' interest in the team that made it very clear that we had to cover them like the other pro sports teams in town.
Yep.
Some people think that there's some sort of chicken and egg question when it comes to coverage with newspapers. There is not. When we tell, like the U23s or, the Federal Way Jets or whatever the, minor league football team there is, we can't cover you because not enough people care about your team, and they say, well, if you covered us, more people would care. Nope, stop right there. Yeah. Newspapers go out of business telling readers what they ought to be interested in. Newspapers stay in business by serving the pre-existing interest, and it was when fans didn't show up in the dozens of thousands, but in the scores of thousands, that suddenly it became in the News Tribune's best interest to serve those readers. So very much, fans get the coverage that they deserve, and truly, I mean, not to pander too horrendously to this audience, but the best fans in MLS deserve the best coverage in MLS, and they've really got it.
Which is, it's true. I mean, I think we do. I think we do have, and listen, Portland fans are good. LA fans are, if they pay them, they come. No, I'm just kidding. but I think there are a handful of great communities that are developing, and one of the things that scares me about the league is we have a great Pacific Northwest. Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle are fantastic fan bases. Kansas City, even though they have the second best speakers in the MLS after Salt Lake. Salt Lake has a great fan base. I think there's a lot of great fan bases, but there are still some teams. Columbus Crew got 9,000 people to come out for the playoff game.
Yeah,
that is terrible to me.
That's scary.
To me, that is I can't even imagine that. We have 46,000, which is actually, I think, a disappointing number to come out for the LA game. I was disappointed.
I was too, dude.
It should have been over 50. Now, I get it. I understand it was a short notice, whatever. We had 46,000 people come out. But we are the best. Yeah. We are. And not just... There's a great feeling here. But I want to replicate this around the league. If we do that, I think we'll be more successful.
Oh, totally. Well, that's the thing. I mean, almost every year I print a little tweet, because it's 140 characters friendly, but I think it's very interesting that Seattle is the only market where on a per game basis the Major League Soccer team outdraws the Major League Baseball team.
Yes.
Now that drives Mariner fans crazy because they think I'm taking a shot at the Mariners. No. And then they point out it's 81 games versus 18 and all that. Stop. I understand that. I'm not. Those advantages also are true in Houston and all of the other markets that have both teams. I'm not taking a shot at the Mariners. I'm taking a shot at the other MLS franchises that can't match it despite the advantage of 18 games and not 81.
Exactly. I think that's a great point, is that we are locally here. We want to support everybody, right? And we've, and you mentioned it, for a long time, we've supported teams that have not been the best to support. The Seahawks finally won last year. And they're doing well again this year.
Yes,
the Huskies have had their good years and their bad years. The Cougars have had their good years and their bad years. The Sonics have had years. Well, mostly, yeah. The Sonics, when you're on the deep. The Sonics have had or gone now, but they had some good ones.
Me, dude.
Fuck you, David Stern. Sorry. And we were going PG, but I had to say that. Sorry.
All of you in Oklahoma.
Don Garber looks good compared to David Stern.
Oh yeah, dude.
So,
totally.
Which we're not going to touch on that one right now, but if we are the only team that can sell out, it's a whole other story, and have 40, 50, 60,000 people come. When I tell people who are NFL people that we have 60,000 or 70, almost 70,000 people come to a soccer game, they're floored. They are absolutely floored. Like, it doesn't even make sense to people. So, but if we're the only one, how does that lead to success in the league?
Yeah. That's our worry.
I think there was one season where the Dynamo, on a per-game basis, outdrew the Astros. But it's very rare, and this season it was only the Sounders.
So I got a comment here. So Juan Valdez, John, said, I should read him more. This is a great interview. So I'm just picking one.
Yeah, that's right.
There have
right
been
here.
a lot of commentary so far.
Another
just
person
how
said this
great
is a
you
great
are.
show. Yeah.
So just want to interrupt myself.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's do this. We're going to do a quick timeout. It's 8:30. We've been talking for an hour.
Really?
Believe it or not. Maybe it seems like 3 weeks to you, but it's been an hour already. So I want to do a quick little bit of a shout out on a few things that I did not do it at the beginning of the show. The first thing first, the Tacoma News Tribune is a fantastic newspaper. I'm in Renton, so I'm technically in the Seattle zone, kind of. But what you guys do is amazing, and we love that. So thank you for that. Is there anything that you want to promote or talk about, or a website or a blog name or whatever that you want to say on the air here?
It's so easy to Google that anybody could find us. We have the word "the" in there, so the website is thenewstribune.com. Mine is my name, Don Ruiz, TNT behind it. But no, otherwise it's easy to find. And it is a good paper for its size. We play big because we're in the shadow of Seattle, so we challenge them. We have been a great sports section, which is something that we take seriously. John Clayton came through the Tacoma News Tribune. Bob Condota came through the Tacoma News Tribune. Mike Kahn, the late and great Mike Kahn, who was a tremendous NBA writer, came through the News Tribune. So we've had some great writers, and we still do in all of the sports. I'm very proud of my colleagues.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the comments as you were saying that is we need to support this guy, comment on his blog, and retweet his tweets. Yeah. And that really is how we build a community, right? I mean, that really is. Yeah. I'll retweet. I mean, I'm sure my followers that haven't muted or blocked me, like Chad Marshall. We'll come back to that one because I want.
I'll tell you about how you got blocked right after they won the U.S. Open Cup.
Oh, that's the
he went to
congratulate funny thing. I swear to God, but it's true. I mean, I retweet, and there are a lot of times I'll retweet you and Matt and Jeremiah, etc. Because to me, it's about the soccer. There is the market is this big. Soccer is this big in my mind, in my world right now, and I want to expand it to here. So how do we do that? And we support local. We support the folks that are actually covering it. And the Tacoma News Tribune is giving you the ability to go out and support it as a full-time job. So we need to support you guys. So thank you for that. So thank you, and great job on what you do already.
Man.
And we're not done yet, but I'm just saying, great job for that. All right. So I also have to say ECS, which I'm a member of ECS. Oh no, I'm wearing my S2. Hold on, my bar.
Sabara, that's ECS subgroup, yeah.
The ECS end of year party is next Saturday, which is 8/13. No, God, 12/13. 8/13. It's August 13th. December 13th. You can buy them in advance for $15.
Yep.
Online at the door for $20. Which last year they didn't have at the door. So thank God we do this year.
We have a taco truck.
Free tacos.
Yeah.
For all your supporters. Free tacos.
Oh, dude. Can't go wrong with tacos and soccer.
Hanneman will be in attendance.
Hanneman will be in attendance. And we also know, oh, is it Brian's coming?
Really?
Oh.
Schmetzer.
Next
Partying with Schmetzer.
We also know who the ECS Player of the Year is, for those of us who are online. I won't announce it, but we know who it is, because we saw the plaque online, because someone put it on Facebook.
Oh.
I won't say who it was, because they deleted the picture. But if you want to go to that next week, so go to that. Also, Austin, there's a kid who is friends of Juan Valdez, one of our loyal listeners, and Rachel, his wife, who is trying to GoFund himself. GoFundMe? Is that what it is?
Yeah, GoFundMe.
Yeah, GoFundMe to S2 tryouts, which I want to then dovetail this into S2, because I want to see how you guys are going to cover S2. So I will tweet the link out. We'll put it on SonarFeed, and if you guys can help, just retweet it. I know we ask you guys for a lot. You guys donated for my Movember. You guys donated $660, which thank you. There are a lot of you here that donated, which thank you very much for that.
And we're asking you to save for the FIFA tournament.
I actually have a list of names, which if you can give me 1 minute, and we have a happy birthday going on in the background. But I wanted to say quickly, thank you to Lee, Mariana, Melissa, Larry, Mike, Lawrence, Doug, Matthew, Lisa, Kyle, Sheba, Jeb, Ryan, John, Sarah, Mary Lou, and Eileen. Thank you all for donating to my Movember, my awesome stash, which I will pull up my picture real quick while I'm doing this as well, for those of you who haven't seen it. That's what I grew this month in 30 days. Okay,
Badass,
not bad.
dude.
Okay. But and then we have our SonarFeed tournament next month, which I'll get to in 1 minute.
Yeah.
But if you can, I'll retweet Austin. He's a kid who wants to try and become an S2 player. So
We'll have a link out, and Juan Valdez will probably have it out tweeted, and we'll retweet that. So it's GoFundMe.com/AVP. That's A-V as in Victor, P as in Peter, Sounders 2.
Yeah. So, all right. And then finally, before we go back to questions for you, because everyone stopped listening for a minute here because they want to go back to you. But on January 4th,
Yes.
we are doing our 3rd annual SonarFeed FIFA tournament.
Yep.
So we 2 years ago, well, this is our 3rd year. So 2 years ago, we did our first one, and we had about 12 to 15 people who came to play, and about a half a dozen or dozen that came to watch.
Yep.
And one of our friends, Kyle, sent out a note to Lamar Nagel and said, "Hey, Lamar, if you're in town, come down and hang out with us." And we all laughed at him and said, "He's never gonna come."
Lamar, who was playing for
had
Montreal.
just traded, who just got picked up by Montreal. Yes.
Yeah, I
Who
was
had
right
just
after that, too.
showed up at the front door. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
And was that the year we did the Chive event too?
Yeah, dude.
So I did on Friday night, Adam and Lee and I did a live broadcast from the Gorilla FC end of year party where I got intoxicated.
Had a few beers, cervezas.
I had winter beer, 9%. Oh yeah, it was a good night.
Nice.
And then on Saturday night, down here at the Berliner Pub, we did a Chive event where we raised
$700 in new toys for Toys for Tots.
And we ended up at Sherry's, the restaurant, at like 4 in the
4
morning.
in the morning.
And
After we
then-
threw a nice party here.
All night long.
Yeah.
And at 10 o'clock in the morning, we were down here getting set up for our
We
tournament.
bring TVs. We bring our own TVs. We brought our own Xbox consoles and start hooking everything up.
And then Lamar walks in and stays down here for like 8 hours with us.
Yeah.
And we raised playing FIFA. He got second place. He lost to Justin Solomon, one of the Academy players. So we raised $700. All went to the Boys and Girls Club. That was a success. So the next year we came back. This is last year now, and we raised $2,200 for the Nagel Foundation because Lamar said, "I want to come back. I had a blast." So we said, "Well, if you're coming back, we're going to give it to your charity."
Yep.
So the Nagel Foundation got $2,200. We covered all the expenses. We did everything, and he just came down here and played again all day long, and he won last year. So now here we are in the 3rd year. He is the defending champion.
Yep.
And this year we're trying to raise between $5,000 and $6,000. That's our goal. I hope we can do it. So we have amazing gifts. We just got tonight a ball from 2009 signed by some of the players.
Wow.
About 6 or 8 players. It's got Freddie's signature on it. It's got Alonso's signature on it. It's Keller's signature on it. It's amazing.
Dude,
we have a lunchbox from 2011.
How do we get that?
Huh?
Wow, that's awesome.
Julie, the new Fody.
The new Fody?
Hashtag better Fody.
Hashtag way better Fody.
Sorry, Mark.
Mark, dude.
Donated that. We have amazing prizes that we're going to have here. Come down, bring your money. I also got 8 copies of FIFA for 15 from the 360 tonight that were donated. We're going to use those to play with. We're going to ask Lamar to sign them all, and then we're going to raffle those off. A couple of them will go to the winners, but we will have by far, and Jordan's been to all of them. Jordan, you can say from the first year small to this year, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, we went from like 12 people. We already have 40 people signed up. We have a month to go.
Yeah.
Or a little under a month to go. So
we're excited.
every single penny goes to the Nagel Foundation. So we're going to tweet it. We're going to do whatever. So if you're available on the 4th, it might be a good article.
Yeah.
If you're on vacation.
If I can help with any preview coverage, let me know.
Okay.
And I'll try and get people by.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's it. For us, it's a chance for us to give back. We want to give back.
Yeah.
We want to do whatever we can.
Yeah, it's kind
to
of like
help.
our end of the year celebration.
It is.
For, to hang out with everybody that we're here with on a regular basis and talking about our team.
Okay. Was there anything else I needed to pimp? Right now we have 66 people going.
Oh my God!
Whoa! Atlanta's coming back. That would be huge for the Hawks.
Wow!
Wow. Okay.
Oh my God! We said it's not gonna happen. We were watching it before. We're like, oh my God!
They're
it's never
done. They're
gonna
down by
happen.
like 15 or 20, right? Weren't they?
It was like 27-7. I think.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. Okay.
Over.
All right. So let's do this. Let's go back to some questions. We have a lot of questions. We have real. Did you win your Did you win your fantasy football?
Yes, I got past. Woo! Let's go.
All right. So we're
That
gonna
is
go.
awesome.
So you're okay time wise, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go back to some questions here. We have real questions.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to bore you with that.
Let me hit you a real important
Go
one.
ahead. There you go. Oh, are you going to the one?
Yeah. Your favorite taco?
That would be back from my days on the Husky beat. There's a place in Tempe. I don't even remember the name of it. It's La, which doesn't eliminate many. And I forget the last name of it, but there's a great taco place right a few blocks from campus off of Ash Street near Arizona State University.
And what kind of taco was it?
Crispy.
Crispy?
I don't know.
Like a fluffy carne asada taco, or was it a chicken taco? Or is there a place here that you go to around here for tacos that you like?
I'm looking for a great place. Before I moved up here, I was in 2 Texas newspapers, and there I knew tacos.
It's a whole different level there.
But up here, I haven't found a
Right.
good replacement.
I'll tell you, there's a spot not too far from here called Taqueria La Rancherita.
Mm-hmm.
It's right off Rainier. Rainier. You go to the dealers, and it's right there. Great tacos.
You know?
Great tacos.
I took my wife there on Saturday, finally, because she was mad at me because I went there after a business meeting on Thursday, and I posted pictures, and she's like, "This is like your 4th time there. Why haven't you taken me?" Yeah.
Because you took Lily there.
I did. I took my daughter there. Yeah. So really good place. Yeah. So there's- yeah.
They're authentic. You have a great selection of salsas, a little salsa bar, so it's good.
That's good to hear.
So okay, another off-the-wall question before we get back to viewer questions. We have real questions, I promise. Tupac or Biggie?
I am so the wrong demographic there.
I know, that's the best part about it. We asked Gas Man. Don't worry, we asked everybody this. It's
He
like
has the general manager for S2, everybody.
My favorite music maker, by far, and I mean to the point of sickness, is a late great singer-songwriter named Jon Stewart, not the Daily Show guy, a guy named Jon Stewart. He's a folk singer, and that's my music, and I don't think it's generational. Even when I was a younger man, I was an acoustic singer-songwriter guy, so
Okay.
so I got
Stewart.
nothing for you there.
Okay, that's
Jon
fine.
Stewart is.
That's fine. That's good. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
What
We
did
like it.
Graz say?
What? Graz said, I can't remember what he said actually now. It's horrible.
I'm pretty sure he said Tupac.
I think he did say Tupac. I think he
pretty
did
sure
Tupac.
he said
I think, yeah, West Coast.
Well,
I think he
then
did go West
certainly
Coast.
Tupac, I
Yeah. But it's interesting because we asked that. It originally started, we asked people, the Academy kids, we said, so what kind of music do you listen to? And then it got into this whole big
Debate.
rap debate. Oh my God! This is a great dialogue. So we had Dom on, Stefan on, McKay on. So some of the younger kids, and it was a lot of fun to listen to them kind of figure out.
So it became officially our unofficial
we
go-to
have,
question.
we have to ask.
Yeah,
so
every,
now,
every guest.
Well, I'm eager to hear Alan's answer next week.
yes, yes. Okay, so question from Eileen, who's in the audience here. Do you have an opinion on who would replace Ezra as the assistant coach, or as one of Siggy's assistant coaches next year? Now that Ezra, which congratulations Ezra,
Yeah.
S2 coach.
I really don't. I mean, I think it's one of the most fascinating questions of the offseason because there's been such stability with this coaching staff that you just, there's no telling.
Right.
I thought it was fascinating the other day at the end of season press conference where they sort of floated Jimmy Traore as a potential Sounders coach.
Yep.
Yeah, saw that.
But they also kind of floated, we don't know whether that would be with the academy or whatever, and starting with an MLS job might be a little ambitious, although I guess Ezra himself, his first job coaching was an MLS job. He went straight from playing to coaching. So if there was a gun to my head and I had to pick a name, that might be the one that I would pick. But I would probably take the field over any given candidate.
That's interesting. I would love to see that, though. I
Well,
think a
they
lot
said
of us
that
would.
he has a great relationship with the young kids, and like him and Yedlin, I think they said. Like, he was really good for really tight relationship with Yedlin and gave feedback. So it makes sense, I guess.
All right, so this is I don't know. He may be watching. He's actually been on the show twice, once in person and once online. He's a guy named Ted. Have you ever heard of a guy named Ted?
Sure.
Tinfoil Hat Ted.
I don't think so.
At Soccer Reform.
I don't think so.
Wow.
My-
So maybe I'm sorry, but you might be infected now. I apologize.
Oh man, we
I
apologize.
may have just ruined your
Yeah.
day. So did you see the promotion relegation banner that was flying over the MLS Cup?
Mm-hmm.
He would like to know, do you have any opinions on MLS promotion relegation?
I think, like most soccer fans, I'd love to see it. I also think one of the secrets to a happy life is not wishing for the world you wished you lived in, but actually living in the world that you've got. And that's just not going to
Shakespearean.
happen.
Wow, you are.
We're gonna rename this episode Shakespearean Soccer.
Yeah, Don Garber has made clear that is just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, it won't
Although
happen.
it sure be fun. I mean, the NBA should have it right now. Do you think you'd have the current Philadelphia 76ers if there were such thing as promotion and relegation?
No, there would not be. No,
It
there
would
would be.
not be,
No, there would be.
exactly.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's a good point. Well, it's funny because Ted is a guy who, how do I say this? Well, I'm just gonna say it. His message is actually I think a good message, but his delivery and the way he goes about it is terrible.
It sucks.
It's terrible. When we had him on the show, I'm like, I like this guy, but his
On
Twitter
Twitter?
persona is terrible. Because he attacks, right? He's all about attack. And when you actually talk to the guy, he's actually a smart guy. He's actually has some good ideas, but his messaging is terrible. And I'm not saying listen, this is me saying this. I'm not exactly the best messenger, but he doesn't know how to say and get his message across correctly.
Yeah,
But I think if he would actually back off a little bit and let someone else direct the message, he might get further than he does now. Because right now he'll pick on Dave or Jeremiah or Aaron Campo or those guys, and he'll just get in there like this, and he does that with all the media. So I'm sorry, but maybe now you're going to be one of those he gets on too. So I apologize for that. All right, so we have another question here from Heather. Actually, no, I'm sorry, from Jordan first. Jordan in the audience over here. He wants to know, are we in danger of losing Dylan Remick in the expansion draft, in your opinion?
Yes. Ooh. Yeah. And in fact, that was one of the names that maybe surprised me almost the most. Except it's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. He had, I think, maybe the most roller coaster ridey feeling on Ziggy confidence this season, from what I could tell. Because when I happened to go to Charleston, the preseason tournament this year, and I asked Ziggy way back when, who is this year's, because I had also gone to the Tucson tournament the year before that, and that was the tournament where they thought they were going to sort of ease DeAndre Yedlin into the lineup. We couldn't possibly, they had some international game, maybe it was CCL or whatever. We couldn't possibly start him there. He's impressed us, but we've got to ease him in. So, and then suddenly he became DeAndre Yedlin. And so this year I asked Ziggy, who's DeAndre Yedlin out of this camp?
Yeah.
Understanding that that's not going to happen every year, truly, but who's the breakout guy? And he said Dylan Remick.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, well, I'll file that away, and when I told Remick that, 'cause I made a story out of that, he was amazed as anyone. And then he sort of didn't play, then really did play, and then lost a little bit of faith. And
he got hurt too, though, right?
He got hurt.
Yeah,
exactly.
that game was terrible.
Yeah.
That's when we lost Bowen and Rose and Remick.
Right.
All got hurt in the same game at the reserve game.
And I think it was around the same time that Leo was out, so they were having all sorts of left back problems. So there was a time, I think, where his name would not have been on the list, and there were times when his name would. And today was the day that the list was due, and there it is. But clearly, he meets a lot of the criteria that an expansion team would look for in terms of being on a successful team, having started on a successful team, having had the confidence of a iconic coach in the league, probably being relatively inexpensive and being still very young. So, yeah, that might be a bullet the team has to dodge.
Yeah, I mean, so is he the only one you're worried about losing? Do you think we lose? I mean, because as Michael Azira is not on the protected list as well. I mean, is he another one?
More importantly, is Leo going to be okay?
Leo.
That's my guy, man.
Yeah.
I know that money-wise and age-wise, it's probably not very attractive for other teams. But I just want to make sure we get him back, hopefully.
I would think so, but again, these are such atypical expansion teams,
They are.
If you were going in with a mindset, we're going to pay our dues for 5 years, then you don't dress well.
No. Yep.
But if you're trying to be Sounders 2, or again, follow in the footsteps of the Sounders now that the Sounders 2 name is taken.
Yeah.
Then suddenly an experienced right back that can take you to the left back that can take you to the playoffs becomes a valuable thing. So I think the normal, tests may not apply with these two teams.
That's a fair comment.
Okay.
That said, I would expect him back.
I like Michael Azira.
Azira is the question.
When Ozzy went
He
down,
impressed, man.
When Ozzy went down against Dallas, right? No. Yeah, it was Dallas.
Was it Dallas?
Yeah, it was Dallas.
Yeah.
It was Dallas. Because then he was out for the LA
For the first
game. When he went down, I was in GA, and there was a lot of people who were like,
I was one of them, dude. I was like, oh my God, dude.
But I saw Azira come in, and he got the foul, the early foul, where it was on him, right? That wasn't his foul. And I was like, that's why he's in there, because he is good. And give him 10 minutes to warm up.
Yeah,
And I thought he played outstanding down in LA.
I did too, man.
I mean, when I saw the lineup come out, I'm vocal.
Oh, yeah.
I was okay. I was like, I'm okay. I just drove 20 hours to watch this game, right? But I'm okay with that. He's a great player, and I hope we don't lose him, personally. I mean...
Yeah, that name surprised me very much. Probably the most of all.
Really?
I think so. And also, the other thing, I kind of did a misguided tweet, as it turned out today. I was saying I don't see any Sebastian Latou's on this list, that'll come back and bite you. But then somebody got back with me and said, well, that's the thing. Sebastian Latou wasn't Sebastian Latou when you put him on the list.
No.
I had remembered him as having a better Sounder 2009 than he actually did.
Right.
So that's true. You do need to project a little bit about these. Particularly, I guess, with the Tally Hall deal today to Orlando, I wouldn't necessarily expect anybody to get Josh Ford either. But you watch him in practice, and he's so athletic, and you watch Bowen in practice, and he's so athletic. And way back again in Charleston, if you'd have asked me who's the breakout guy this year, I would have said Kevin Parsimane, who was jaw-dropping. So suddenly to have all of that sort of exposed and completely out of your hands right now, it's a scary little moment for the
All right,
Sounders.
so you mentioned Kevin, and I had a joke here that I didn't read earlier, but I got to read now. Dan Shirley on Twitter tweeted, "Which Sounders player tastes the best on top of pasta?" Kevin Parsimane. Parmesan.
Yeah.
Kevin, oh, come on, read it. I'll tweet it again. It's funny.
Good to get that joke in before
I
Wednesday.
had to. But no, he's an interesting one, right? You're absolutely right. I think you're. And then you look at Eric Zavaleta, who played down at Chivas this year. and he was not on the original list, but he is now on the list. Thanks, Colin, for pointing that out.
Yeah, dude.
Watching, Colin. Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. Could have been like slided under the radar.
Yeah.
But Eric Zavaleta is another one who's an interesting one.
Is he on the list?
He is on the list. He is.
Where is he?
MLS added him on the list. He's on the unprotected list. So he's another one that's interesting. You know, he was a forward who played defender, right? And where does he fit into the thing? I mean, he's not protected, and he played too many minutes to get him outside of the generation Adidas contract. So where does he fit?
My guess is that he does not. I was a little surprised by that. I really thought there was some potential with him when they picked him.
Yep.
Then when it seemed that wasn't happening and they talked about moving him to center back, I just thought, of course, that makes utter sense. You've got the body of a center back with the skills of at least a college forward. This makes a lot of sense. But I never got the impression the few times that we thought to ask, that they were really in love with what they were seeing with him in Chivas. And then when Chivas went under, and he was kind of in this netherland, we didn't know exactly what would happen to him, whose property is he, will he be subject to the expansion draft, does he come back, is he in the re-entry draft? The Sounders' attitude sort of seemed to be, he'll be on one list or the other, but he's not going to be on our roster.
Yeah. No, and that's a fair point. I mean,
Would he be a better player for S2?
yeah, and that brings up a great point. So let's talk about S2
Nice
for a minute.
segue.
Yeah, boom. Thank you, Aileen.
Nice.
So S2, which I'm wearing my scarf. Oh, you are too,
Boom.
actually. We actually did not coordinate that. So we had on Andrew Apokowitz about a month ago now. A month and a half
Can you say it
ago.
again?
Apokowitz. Which is weird because I
got it right,
pronounce
dude.
everything wrong every time, but his name I can hit.
That's crazy.
And then 3 weeks ago, we had on the trust board, which was great. That was a great roundtable.
that was awesome.
It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun that night. We're big supporters of S2 because of the fact that it's down here in the South End. And we're in Renton, which is where we are. And you live in Burien, whatever. We're all South End guys.
And then
so,
we found out he's in Kent, so he's
you
also
are?
South.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for us, it's close. It's going to be great. So let's start with the most important question. Are you guys going to support, cover, etc.? Is that you? Is it somebody else? Or do you know yet?
We do not know yet.
Okay.
My guess would be not dramatically more than the reserve team unless they're supported dramatically better than the reserve team.
So the reserve team had a couple hundred, 1,000 people?
Right.
There's over 1,000 season tickets already.
That's what I hear.
Which is good.
Right, exactly. And then, so ultimately, this will be my editor's decision, so I can pass that buck a little bit. It will be my editor's decision based on probably my recommendation.
Yep.
And then it will be my recommendation based on support. So just as I was saying a little while ago, we had no concept that we were going to cover Sounders FC the way that we have until fans demanded it.
Yep.
It's going to be kind of the same thing with this team.
Okay.
Obviously, there was that one day when it seemed like what became S2 might actually play out at Cheney Stadium or out of Tacoma. That, of course, would have changed the dynamic for a Tacoma-based newspaper.
Right.
So now, while we're not covering them as the local team, the north end of our circulation actually includes Tequila, but still they're not anybody's idea of the local team.
Yep.
What we do right now with the U23s, which is Pierce County based, is sort of do a preseason preview of their, what's interesting, here's their schedule, and then we'll get back to you at the end of the year. So I would say the default position might be that with S2, unless they become a bigger deal, in terms of interest, and then we will cover them more. And then the question will just become, even if we're going to cover them more, how do we cover them?
Yeah.
Do we cover them as a team that's competing for the USL Pro Championship?
Yep.
Or are they the Tacoma Rainiers to our Mariners coverage? Or are they the farm team for the, some of that could depend on how much roster back and forth there is. So some of that depends on rules that haven't come about yet.
Yeah.
If that's, and then the rest would just be sort of interesting stories.
Yeah.
Do we want a fifth, if there's a 1-game week with the Sounders, that means I cover 5 training sessions. Do we want that 5th training session out of Sounders, or should I go talk to the #1 draft choice of the Sounders, who's actually on the S2 roster now?
Okay.
So, a billion things to consider.
But
that will need
that's
to play
good, though.
out.
I think people are interested to know how is it going to be covered locally, because I don't think we know.
Yeah, it's still being determined.
No, and that's fine. Then that's good, because I think there's a lot of people.
And it's understandable too. I mean, it's the US standard. They're rolling this out just now, so it makes total sense. Mm-hmm. And like anything, basically, like it's supply and demand. If there is enough demand, you'll hear from the fans, and you'll be here.
I think, based on what I've seen, they're doing this as well as they did the Sounders launch. At least in my opinion, right? I mean, I'm just one guy. But it looks like it. So I don't know from your perspective, do you see that same kind of successful launch that they're doing? Are you getting the same kind of openness and ability to cover them that you had?
I think so. We haven't really tried anything, to be honest, since the press conference.
Yeah, okay.
The press conference obviously had a major league feel to it.
Absolutely.
I mean, they did that as well as they could. They seem to be taking it very seriously.
Yep.
It's certainly being treated by the coaches and by the organization as not a rebranded reserve team.
No.
So all of that speaks well to it.
Okay. All right.
The tricky thing about soccer, though, to a certain degree, and this plays a lot for the Sounders themselves, and probably also for the S2, is that I think the biggest difference, when you see that 40,000 turning out for the Sounders day after day after day, is that there are so few, or at least relatively few, casual Sounders fans.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
You go to any party, bar, you can chit-chat the Mariners, you can chit-chat the Seahawks, you can chit-chat a lot of teams. And almost anybody is conversant to some degree.
Yeah.
Sounders is going to be polarizing. Either I don't care at all, or
I'm a fan.
My God, you're in
like
the club.
the IPAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. In a way, it's,
That's
that's a great commentary. All right, so I could go on for S2 for a long time. So we're gonna take a time out because we can go on for a long time in that. I have a few more questions here that I want to ask. Okay, so crap, hold on. Okay, there you go. Okay. What are some of your favorite Sounder personalities?
Oh.
Looking back to 2009 or beyond, this whole range. Do you have any favorite ones?
Yeah, a few. I would say in general, I'll answer the question, but let me just say in general, to fans who like the team and want to believe that they're good people in addition to being good players and all of that, for the most part they are. It's an extraordinarily likable franchise.
Yeah.
I think soccer players, and I mean I've covered all the major sports. I find sort of the most interesting, the most easy to get along with, and to a large degree the most media friendly. To some degree, even maybe. I'm not going to say the most intelligent, but almost uniformly interesting people, and probably intelligent, because almost everybody in that locker room is either, and I think these are both very life-expanding things, they've either lived internationally or they've attended college. And I think both of those things are very broadening, and you see it almost 100% in MLS in a way that you do not in the Mariners clubhouse. So I think they're interesting people. And for the most part, they tend to be very media friendly for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. They think that we can help them to some degree. And among a very high bar, the ones who are really at the top of the list, one of them I managed to tweet today, James Riley, was a tremendous guy.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, for being such an extraordinarily nice guy off the pitch, very fierce on the pitch. I mean, he did not mess with James Riley.
Yeah, he's an enforcer just like
the
Ozzy.
Best last name ever for the Sounders. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
he's not a big guy.
No.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember, just a little microcosm, but it was very much the whole span of James was that he was the first person that I heard after that horrendous day in Colorado to say, as bad as we feel for Steve, let's don't forget, what Mullen must be going through right now. And I thought, well, that's an interesting point of view. And then he saw the replay, and he sort of came off of that. Yeah. And I just thought I remember that's great.
Yeah,
he wasn't just gonna hang in with a blind loyalty. He was understanding this was changing two careers, and then understood that there was an innocent victim and a less innocent victim, to the degree that was true. So I thought that was tremendous with Fry.
Well, his off the field comment, his charity work, James Riley, almost second to none. I mean, his foundation, whatever he's done, amazing work. So he was, and when you tweeted that today, that's why I added it to our notes, because I thought your tweet. I just want to make sure people saw this. Seeing the reports of the retirement of the former Sounder James Riley, one of the very best guys to cover on my 6 seasons on the beat, and that was your tweet. Yeah. And I copied it for our notes because I thought that you were absolutely correct. That he seems like, and having met him off the field, just one of the best guys. Period. So thank you for that tweet today, and your memories too. Yeah. So
the other who was a real media favorite, because it was a very weird combination, was Jeff Park.
Interesting.
Really?
Who's now free.
That's right. That's right. Usually, when you get guys who are very media friendly, if there's a rap, it's that they're often a little bland. Park was the interesting combination of media friendly and utterly candid. To have a thought was to speak a thought with Jeff Park, and that's a wonderful thing for us.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed covering him very much. I also very much liked Freddie Lundberg.
Really?
Again, just in terms of being interesting.
Yeah.
And also, I remember once I got like a little one-on-one with him, and I was kind of walking him to the locker room, and he says, it was at Starfire, and he says, you see that, restroom over there, and it was like, hundreds of yards away. And he said, in the Premier League, that's where they would keep you guys. That's how far away the media is from us, So this is all new to me, this idea of like walking out with the media. So particularly, that he was adapting, I thought, he did a great job. And the thing that I always think about Freddie Lundberg is, if I were that talented, that rich, and that good-looking, I'd be much harder to get along with. I would just...
Wait, so you're telling us you're not an underwear model?
So,
misrepresentation.
With that much going for him, I thought he was great.
No, that's good.
And also the first two goalkeepers. I mean, Stephen Fry is a good guy. I like him just fine. But just in terms
terrible
of
haircut,
go-to media guy.
He was clutch, though.
Keller was great.
Yeah.
And
Michael Spurning.
Spurning was great.
The interesting thing about Fry, and there's been a lot of debate all year about Fry, right?
Man.
So Fry came in, the Wingate, we'll call it Wingate, with the ball in Dallas, right?
Oh,
where he misjudged the wind, and the ball bounced over his head. It was just it was a guy who was rusty, right? Who played.
He hasn't played in a year. He was off, injured.
So, but talk about ending the season on a fantastic note. So, I mean, he's a great keeper.
I don't think we would have made it.
Very lucky.
I don't think we would have gotten so far without him.
In my opinion,
I agree.
We're very fortunate to have him in keeper.
Yeah, I warned. I mean, I thought he ended terrifically great.
Fantastic.
I thought it was always fascinating. I thought it was going to be a little litmus test for how much faith you have in the Sounders front office that they would have committed to him.
Yes.
Because the idea of saying there's a great goalkeeper, that's easy.
Yeah.
The idea of saying there would be a goalkeeper with a good team, after watching him only with Toronto, I think calls for a little more subtlety of your scouting.
I agree. Which is where I think we have an expertise, right?
Yes.
We have that ability to look at that. I think you're right.
Which raises the question, because Ziggy pointed out the other day, sometimes you look at the expansion list, you see who's available, and you then see who do you call there's some good keepers on the list. So, I mean, not only did Sounders have no second and third keeper right now, they've got some keepers. I mean, a year ago, you say, do you want Donovan Ricketts or do you want Stephen Fry? I'll say we'll take Donovan Ricketts.
Yeah.
So suddenly you've got a question there, but still, it's going to be interesting to see the next couple of days what plays out there.
It'll be interesting.
It is. It is, man.
Well, because the whole RED and the RED2, and then, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks. There's going to be a lot of off-season conversation.
It's that time, like, oh, man, something's going to happen. We'll see.
All right, so a couple more questions. I know we're way over time, but
This is great,
this is
man.
fantastic.
This is awesome.
So
like, I usually speak a lot more, but this is great, man. Like all the information.
And I'm sorry, but I'm babbling
behind the scenes, talking about Hart, Riley, and a lot of us, we would love, I mean, to be in your shoes, to be able to travel and to get that sense of what you do. It's been really cool, man. Like,
and you've opened up tremendously, which we appreciate.
Yeah, we really do.
All right, so Chamber at ECS, Colin, great guy, absolutely fantastic guy, one of the most knowledgeable Twitter followers. I mean, for me.
Yeah, these are all very familiar Twitter handles, and I
know
love,
him.
Three-dimensionalizing them a little bit.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? Any thoughts on today's Copa Mexico tourney news that MLS teams are being considered for the 2015 tournament, which I honestly missed 100%.
I missed entirely as well, so there's that.
Wow.
Oh, no, we just went off. Oh, no, there we go. Wait. Do you have any thoughts? So you have no thoughts?
What is the news? Tell me the news.
MX. It's a Copa MX tournament for next year.
Oh, okay.
That the MLS teams are being considered for the tournament.
Oh, well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I love international play.
Yes.
I love the spectrum of the world sport. Two of my favorite games this past season were as far as you can get. Two teams that I'd never set eyes on before. They're kind of like a birder, just on my life list.
Yep.
I'd never seen Tottenham.
Okay.
And I had never seen whatever elite that they opened with the first U.S. Open Cup. What was it? I'm forgetting their initials.
Elite PSA.
Yeah.
Right. Elite PSA, right?
PSA Elite.
PSA Elite. Yeah.
There you go. So the idea of seeing different teams, if you're going to be the world sport, I love the international aspect of it.
I agree.
So I think that would be great. They had asked Don Ruiz at the press conference the other day if he saw ever the possibility of an MLS All-Star team against the Liga MX All-Star team. I think that would be great also.
I think so too, yeah.
So knowing nothing about this report other than that, my inclination is to like it.
Yeah, see, and that's where, when you look, we had this discussion last week, and it was not controversial, but people were kind of like, whatever. If you had to rank the 4 tournaments, or the 4 trophies, right? You got MLS Cup, you got Cascadia Cup, you got Supporter Shield, and the Open Cup, right? So there's 4, right? Do you have an opinion on your favorite one? This is my question now. The favorite trophy there, or do you want the one you want? As you, maybe not the broad, but as Don Ruiz.
Yeah. MLS Cup, just giving in to the world.
To the world, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, at some point, if you want the growth of the sport, if you want to be on Sports Center, if you want the media markets to pay attention to what you've just devoted 10 months of your life to, that's the MLS Cup.
Yeah.
But if I were king of the world for a day, and could impose my standards to the United States soccer community, I would say Open Cup. I just think that should be FA Cup in America.
Yes.
And I adore that. And if everybody else would take it as seriously as the Sounders do,
it'd be a different world.
It would be a different.
The whole
exactly. That should be a tremendous tournament.
So I ranked them as Supporter Shield. Let me go here. Supporter Shield here. U.S. Open Cup, MLS Cup, and then Cascadia Cup. That's how I ranked them last week. Because I think the Open Cup, though, is great because it gets us into the CCL.
Yep.
And getting us into the CCL, I don't care how we got, and then we got there twice, right? Technically,
Second berth,
by doing CCL and Open Cup. However we need to get to the CCL, that's going to be one of my main priorities for the year. I want
that determines if we're successful or not. It really does.
It does. To me, it does.
Yeah, it does.
I want to see, and I'm kind of, the fact that LA won, I'm kind of excited about because now we have RSL, LA, and Seattle as our 3 U.S. MLS teams, I think 3 of the better franchises in the MLS are going to all go all in. And RSL takes it seriously, LA takes it seriously, and Seattle takes it seriously, even for the CCL. Next year is the year that the Sounders or an MLS team wins CCL. The 15-16 cycle, not this year.
Right. Well, I would say,
Personally,
relatedly,
yeah.
that I think out of everything since January to now, the 10 months of my life that I've devoted to covering this team, I think the most significant sentence that I heard spoken, and it's just to kind of file away for next summer, was Adrian Hanar saying, we want to win it.
Yes.
Win CCL.
Yes.
I think
Wow,
that's going to
that
be
got chills.
very, very important.
I think it's
To the
their
club's
mission.
mindset.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
there are so many of these tournaments. What are your chances of winning? How much do you want to win it?
Right.
And I think that's been a good thing for the U.S. Open Cup. And it looks to me like if we're roster juggling, we've got our Open Cups. We're trying to advance and win this thing
Exactly.
because they want to be a world brand.
All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do 2 last questions, and then we're going to stop. Otherwise, we're going to go till midnight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the harder question first, I think, and then end with a kind of a softball. Or not a softball, but an easier question. And then we might have a few more, but from viewers. Chamber ECS again. I'm going back to him because it's a great question. Any big changes you expect from the CBA? And I'm gonna extend on this. From what you're seeing, do you have any thoughts or things? Are we gonna strike? Are we gonna get it done early? Is it gonna be late like it was last time, which was in 2010, right? Which was my second year into the league, and I'm thinking like, I just spent a lot of money as a new fan. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose the momentum of what we have, this amazing thing. I want the season to start tomorrow. So anyway, so do you have any thoughts or comments on the CBA, what you see, what you hear one word versus this word?
I haven't heard the verses enough, and that's to some degree shame on me. The locker room is broken up. The Sounders are gone now. I don't have access to Brad Evans in the way that I wish, I should have gotten before, before they cast to the winds. So I would love to know much more how from the player's point of view. Right now, I've got mono. I know what the league is saying. But I don't know so much what the players are saying. Even if I had thought to ask the question, there's not a great guarantee that I would have gotten a terrific answer. Because when on the last CBA, the players, you better, if you got Clint Dempsey as your union rep, then you can get some candor.
Right.
But if it's somebody, and I think last time around it was Taylor Graham. How sideways he wants to get with management at that stage of his career, it gets tougher. I'm going to try and do a better job. I might need to go to the union heads, but yes, I've been covering the field and I need to get off the field. But I think it's going to be fascinating to see how much the players want to hear we're a developing league, the NASL died doing things like this. Well, okay, but Don Garber at every State of the Union keeps telling us how much better the league has gotten. It is reasonable in one of these CBAs and maybe this one for the players to say, we hear you, now show us.
And I'm torn. I've got a 11-year-old and a 5-year-old, like I said earlier. And my 11-year-old, her first week of kindergarten, her first 3 weeks of kindergarten, kept going to daycare because there was a teacher strike. And I drove by the teacher striking, who drive by to the daycare, and said, I rolled in my window and I said, I support you, which is different. Teachers, I'm not trying to compare teachers and professional athletes, but in a way, soccer, as any professional athlete, I think is closer to a teacher than any other professional athlete, in my opinion. Because they're making relatively, other than Oba, Clint, etc., very small amount of money relative to what the league and some,
other sports.
and I'm not talking some, I'm talking SUM, you know what I'm talking about, are making. I don't think they're losing $100 million. MLS may be losing $100 million, but some is not losing $100 million. Some's making more than that. So, but I had to drive by every day and say, all right, I support you guys, but out of my corner of my eye, like, settle. Come on, go back. My daughter wants to go to school. She can't wait to go to school. So hurry up.
Yeah, it's like we don't want it to become
I'm a voter who
big.
voted in their favor. So I'm torn. I want MLS players to stand up and demand more because they're in a place now where it's viable and they're able to do it now. So let's do it.
And they're giving us more. I mean,
But as a fan, I don't want it to happen. I want to go to a game tomorrow.
I feel you.
Torn,
we don't want to take a chance of any delay of anything.
No.
You know? That's the thing.
But
That's
I want
the
them
scary
to be
part.
successful because that's how we build this league for better success.
Well, the hope, I guess, as a child of the Cold War, is that it's the whole mutually assured destruction thing. I hope both the players and the league say we're making progress, but we can't take a work stoppage right now.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what hopefully will happen. So players are meeting in Las Vegas right now. Brad and Dylan Remick are representing us. So we have two relatively sound members of the Sounders representing us. So hopefully the rest of the league does as well, and they make good decisions, and I hope we end up with a good thing, personally. So, all right. One last question from the viewers. Sure. What is it like to be a reporter or to go to practices? Is it glamorous, exciting, cool? Is it cold and rainy and wet? Like, how do you feel about being able to go to see the games? The practice. And I'm going to tag my question. How open are the players and staff, etc., for you?
It's better. You learn things when there are open practices. It can be tricky. I mean, it can be sort of boring. It can be cold and wet. So there's that. But in terms of my ability to do my job, you always benefit from knowing things. One of the great dilemmas is knowing things that you can't report, and that happens sometimes. The deal that we have with the Sounders right now is if you see an injury, don't tweet it until after, when you've had a chance to ask Ziggy.
Yep. Fair enough.
So that, I think, is fair enough.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
These days, because it used to be that the only number that mattered in my life, deadline-wise, was 10:30 at night. I just need to get everything ready and write my story, and it goes into the next day's paper. Now, literally, you get beat on Twitter by 30 seconds, and you feel like you should submit your resignation. And they have people who are tweeting the order of news, who tweeted first, second, and third. So suddenly, you've got that. So it's frustrating to know it a little bit. And then the other trick is every now and then you have a fight or a near fight or an out of the ordinary
EJ?
teammates going at each other.
No.
And how much of that, the fans would be interested.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know that you've seen enough training sessions where you can put it into a little bit of perspective, and it doesn't mean at all that these two guys hate each other when they get back into the locker room. It can be boom. So that's the thing. That's the eternal what I know and what I can say or ought to say, or am I skilled enough to put it in the proper perspective.
Wow, that's okay. So how much of that is your journalistic integrity, which may or may not be lacking with certain, let me phrase this, media outlets? Not the Tacoma News Tribune or whatever, but I'm saying, but there are certain media outlets who may or may not have that journalistic integrity. Is that part of what you're talking about there? And I'm not trying to put you on a spot.
It can be.
But is that some of that?
It can be. there is a little bit of, well, let me give you this. I think going back to the first or second season, very early, there was a legal issue involving a sounder.
Okay. Oh, me?
Which-
Oh, sorry.
No, the other one.
Okay. Oh, Freddie.
Freddie.
Sorry. Here, he's being quiet. I'm just saying all the names. But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yep.
Well, unfortunately, everybody in Seattle knows
They
what I'm
know,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah.
and that's
and
the
unfortunately,
problem.
it was a chant from the Portland fans, which
Yeah.
is terrible. But a whole nother, yeah.
But that's the thing. In the old days, a newspaper would not print charges.
Yeah.
They would print arrests, but not a charge, because
Yeah.
this is basically he said, she said in this case.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't ever, I mean, here we are however many years later, I hint this and you say, Freddie.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it happened.
Yep.
One media outlet, we put the immediate test. Do we print this? No, we don't print this kind of stuff. But suddenly, one media outlet prints it, it's out there. You can't protect him anymore. It's
Yeah,
out there. So
yeah.
the question is,
You
are
follow
you
suit.
just rationalizing your integrity to become part of the herd? Or are you falling on such a ridiculously symbolic sword of we're not going to print this when everybody
else is
you don't
already
need to print it. Everybody
yeah.
knows. So
Oh man, that must be
there's
so.
that. And the one thing is just not, for the most part, I think mainstream media, for whatever raps we get, I would never say we always make the right decisions, but I think we weigh those things in a way that maybe some other outlets do not. We mess up like anybody else, but I think we thought a lot about Freddie and not about circulation or any of that kind of stuff.
Which again goes to me, it goes back to full circle, journalistic integrity. But also journalistic integrity. When I say that word, I mean that's integrity that you have, Don, and or your editor and whoever, and say that you have a moral value inside, which I try to live my life by. That I'm not perfect. In case anybody didn't know that.
We know.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thanks, Hugo. Thank you. But I'm not. I pretend to be, but we're not. We're not. We all have issues,
And we've
I
all made
think
mistakes.
We all do, and we all make mistakes. But if you make the right decision the majority of the time, it makes it easier to look at that and say, okay, yeah, as opposed to running with something that you kind of hear that so-and-so's brother said so-and-so's sister said whatever. It's like, yeah, so that's, okay, well, so we're on the same page there.
That's true. The problem is you make the wrong decision once, and Freddie only gets his one lifetime, so it's really all serious stuff.
All right, no, that's a great point. All right, so surprisingly enough, we are at 2 hours. So I'm sorry to keep you waiting this long, or keep you hold on this long,
been
but
fun.
that was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, it really was, man.
I mean, I could go on for a lot longer. I have a question for you. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. If we ever put together a round table of like a bunch of folks and did a live episode, like full on, the whole bar can hear it, etc. Would you ever come back for that?
Oh, sure, that'd be great. No,
Or
this
would you
has
ever
been
come back in
terrific.
general
Sure,
as a
absolutely.
guest? Because now you're on air, so you said it, so it worked again. But it's funny, just how awesome. I mean, not funny. It was just great how awesome you were tonight. So thank you so much.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is, I mean, soccer is a different sport. I mean, some of it is covering it, some of it is it's conversion. It's spreading the word.
Yeah.
So y'all are brothers and sisters in that quest, and I appreciate y'all having me.
So I do have a drink coming if you're available for it. If you don't want to, that's fine. We'll do it off the air. We have to go off the air because unfortunately we're running up against karaoke time. So we're gonna let them do their karaoke. Don, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'm gonna-
You have been
Yeah.
amazing, man.
Fantastic.
Seriously,
Yeah,
it's been an honor to being able to get your insight and everything. Really.
Thank you.
And for you guys that watched, I'm sorry about we had a little bit of streaming issues, so we had some problems. I'm gonna upload the episode tonight. It should be online tomorrow afternoon probably, which it'll be uninterrupted other than our own stumbling over the fact that we were not online. But you're welcome anytime on the show.
Great.
Anything we can do for you,
Yeah, just let us know.
we will. Whatever we can do. That was fantastic. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, boys and girls.
Later, guys.
Remember, January 4th,
Yes.
SonarFeed FIFA tournament. Go to the Tacoma News Tribune, thenewstribune.com. Don Ruiz, the blog, fantastic. And then also next week, I'm going to plug a little bit. Alan Hinton, Coach Hinton, will be live here in the pub, and we'll have open questions, etc. as well there. So come down and watch with us. Thank you guys very much. We're going to wonka out.
Walk out, guys.
Thank you guys.
Wrong, sir, wrong. Wrong, sir, wrong. You lose. A contract signed by him. You get washed. You get sterilized. You get nothing but pay. You lose. Wrong, sir, wrong. I said wrong, sir, wrong. You get wrong, sir, wrong. I said wrong, sir, wrong. You lose. Black and white, black and white. All there. Black and white, black and white. All there. Black and white, black and white. All there. Black clear as crystal. You lose. Good day, nothing. You lose. Get good day, nothing. You lose. Get good day, nothing. You lose. Get good day, nothing. You lose. You get nothing. You get nothing. You get nothing. Clear as crystal. You lose. Black and white, all there. Black and white, all there. Black and white, all there. Clear as crystal. You lose. Fax mentis incendium gloria culpa memo bis punitor della cambra etc. You're a swindler. Wrong, sir. Wrong. You're a cheat. Wrong, sir. Wrong. You're a swindler. Wrong, sir. Wrong. And you're a nuts. Good day, nothing. You lose. Get 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 37 beep if I follows tight a copy. 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 You stole nothing. You what? You stole nothing. You what? You stole nothing. You what? Chocolate? Wrong. You lose. Black and white, all there. Black and white, all there. Black and white, all there. Black and white, all there.
Mr. Wonka?
I said,
Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka?
I said,
Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka?
I said,
Mr. Wonka?
I said, good day.
When does he get it?
He doesn't,
Why not?
because he broke the rules.
What rules? We didn't see any rules, did we, Charlie?
Wrong, sir, wrong. Wrong, sir, wrong. Wrong, sir, wrong. Wrong, sir, wrong.